Hello and welcome to Angels of Sorrow. Okay, pick yourself up together, wipe those tears off of your face, and let's get into this here. So let's turn off the effects and just be forewarned. I think that's it, forewarned. Be forewarned that this patch is extremely easy to make, and it sounds pretty cool. You kind of just get lost in it. But anyway, let's get into this here. So we're using all three engines, and I know that might sound like a lot, but it's really actually a simple patch here. So let's turn off the utility, engine number 2, and look at the first one. So the first one is a sample, and we're using the Choir C3 right over here. And it should be over here in this folder, I think it's down here. Yeah, vocal, and then Choir C3. So let's select that one here. Unison voices, we're using 2, the detuned 1.50%, and stereo all the way to the right at 100%. And this is going to filter number 1. The volume is going to be important for this one. So it's 0 dB for this one, right? I know important, but 0 doesn't really sound important, but it is. It is. Keep with me. 0 dB for the first engine here. And there we're already halfway through the battle here. The second engine here is also a sample, but this one's going to be Choir C3. So select here, same place as before in the... I said the same thing. Down here on vocal, go to Choir C3. So basically we're doing a ooh and an ah, right? Ooh, ah, right? That's, okay. Anyway, we're doing an ooh, ah. So the second engine here, the sample here, it's going to be at the same tuning. So we're not changing any bit of tuning at all. This is also going to filter number 1. The volume for this one is -35.3. So this is a very important thing because if they're both the same volume, it's really going to be hard to tell that it's an actual vocal playing. It's going to be more so like it sounds like strings kind of thing. So keep this volume very low, -35.3. And we're also adding 2 voices of unison, detuning 1.5%. So you can barely hear it, right? And that is intentional. So both of these together. Sad angels, man, I'm telling you. Okay, so now for the envelope, which is very important for this patch here. The attack is going to be 2.96 seconds, decay 300 milliseconds, sustain 1, release 2.93 seconds. The attack curve is -1.2 or -1.12. And keep in mind, I do really like to do this. I think it's a very important thing for pads, at least for me, is to make sure that this curve here isn't concave. So it's not like scooping up because it always sounds so abrupt to me. It irritates me. So kind of just, I like doing the convex. So that's why the attack curve is -1.12. And just to slide them out really goes a long way. The decay curve is -4, which we're not really using the decay curve, but it does affect the release curve. So yeah, decay curve -4. And yeah, that should be it there. I think we said the release 2.93 seconds. Okay, so let's get into our filtering here. So the first filter is going to be the Jupiter 8, and they're going to be routed. So the first filter output goes into the input of the second filter, which is going to be the multi-mode high pass 24. And the way this is kind of set up here, so our macros, right? The first macros are low pass, kind of very traditional kind of thing. The second ones are resonance. And then the third one is the high pass. So if you want a little bit more low end, then just dial this all the way to the left. And you can get some more like low vocal kind of thing. But if you don't like that, crank it up and you get rid of really some of that mud down on the bottom. You still get the lows, but just not too much of it. So hopefully you can hear that difference there. And the resonance for this one is kind of interesting here because it's a really small amount, right? Like we're only doing 0.39, but not, here in the middle is kind of where it sounds best. Too much is a little too breathy, but maybe you like breath, but I don't, so I put it down about 0.5 halfway through. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to be doing for the first two engines here, the filters and some of the macros. Now the utility engine is kind of more so, I like using this as kind of a texture kind of thing because this sample is going to be after the fire. And I was kind of looking for a sample that just added a little bit of texture, but it wasn't annoying that there's like something in the background that we want to turn off. So if we turn both the first engine and the second engine off, we hear this. Which is, I guess it's kind of like breath. Maybe I do like breath, I don't know. The more I learn about myself. So something kind of like that, just like a droning kind of thing. I guess I do like breath, that's weird. Okay, so something just like that, the After the Fire, which is in Atmos and the first one, so it's a cool sound. Now we're using the filter a little bit here at 51% high pass, going to filter number 1 and the volumes at 0.055 dB. So we turn both of these on, and let's take a listen. Kind of makes you wonder what she went through to sound so sad. Ah, it's truly heartbreaking. Okay, so now in the effects over here, so it's really not that bad here. So let's turn off B because that's just a corrective EQ for now. We have a reverb, a delay, and another delay. So the first delay is going to be 0 all the way down at the bottom, but we are modulating this on macro number 4 at 0.38 or 38%. The time is going to be 1/8, fine, negative 0.311 milliseconds, feedback 0.140, stereo spread 0.040, high pass frequency 250 hertz, low pass 3,635 hertz. So you hear her voice and kind of almost sounds like you hear her sisters in the background, just you know what I mean? Subtle, but it's nice. And then we hit it with another delay here, and it's going to be 1/4. The fine 0.311 milliseconds. Feedback is going to be 0.352. Stereo spread 0.040. High pass 238. Low pass 3,320 hertz. And the value here is going to be 0, but modulated by macro number 4 at 0.38 or 38%. So something important about these two delays here is this fine here, right? So on the fine for the second delay, it's 0.311 milliseconds, and then the fine for the other one is negative 0.311. So keep that in mind. It's just a slightly little difference there. Next up, we have the final reverb to kind of just put it into place. And since this is a big angel, she's sad about who knows what. It's kind of it's a big moment, guys. It's a sad day for all of us. So that means she needs a big room to really showcase that sorrow. So with that being said, this dry wet's going to be 0, but modulated at macro 4 at 40%, and then the pre-delay is 20. So the sides, this is important. This is big, 0.150. That's a big room. All right, there's a lot going on. Now in decay, 0.460, so she's going to be sticking around for a while, telling you about all her problems. Stereo width, 0.5, high pass, 200 hertz, low pass, 15,000 hertz, and then the damping is going to be at 0.6. So really fairly simple. And then last but not least, on FXB, we're just kind of doing a corrective EQ, and as you probably know from my videos, that I really hate the frequencies between probably about 100 and 200 hertz for most stuff. It just sounds awful. So we're kind of targeting that 151, and the gain's going to be negative 3.29, and I'll show you too. Take a listen to this. Oh my god, that just makes me angry. Let's clear that up there. It's just like a blanket over the sound, and it sucks. There we go. Kind of clean that up a little bit. Clean yourself up. And that's really how this patch works. We went over the low pass for the cutoff and the resonance and the high pass for the other filter. And the effects are basically just the delay, and the reverb. So if we don't like the effects and you're like, John, your effects sucks, you can use your own stuff and then make it even better. But if you do use Valhalla Vintage Verb, I won't be angry. And that's pretty much it. If you'd like to get this patch for free, there's a link in the video description below, and it can be yours for the click and a download and an install. So yeah, hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.